Welcome to the Introduction to the Present Subjunctive. We'll be looking at what the present subjunctive means and how it is used. We won't be looking at its individual conjugations, though. If you've gotten to this point, you know a lot of Spanish, a lot of tenses. You know, for example, the past tenses, the preterite and the perfect. You know the present tenses. You know the perfect tenses. And you know future and conditional, to name more than a few. Very nice. You can describe events happening in all of these tenses, and the events you describe make up a world that is fairly straightforward and clear. What is the name of this world? It's called the indicative. You weren't going to jump the gun there on me, were you? All right. And I want to call it the indicative world. Indicative meaning it indicates what's going on, a pretty good name, but we have to call it the indicative mood, which is the correct grammar term. All right. Now, next to this very comfortable world that we know well is a different kind of world, one that is not so clear and straightforward, one where things change according to people's will, their desires, their doubts, their emotions. And this one is called the subjunctive. Very nice. The subjunctive mood. And in Spanish it's called el modo subjuntivo. Notice there is no C in it, like there is in the English version. And on the left side here, the indicative is called something, oops, wrong color. It's called something very similar. El modo indicativo. Okay, very good. So, why do we even need the subjunctive? Isn't the indicative just enough? Well, the indicative has served us well, but there are actually more meanings that are included in the subjunctive that are used with a lot of frequency in Spanish, so we do need to know them. All right, what we're going to do now is take a look at what kind of sentences involve the subjunctive. Actually, it's a two-part sentence. It has two clauses separated by the word que. And the first clause is the sentence here, which has its own subject and its own verb. And the second looks very similar. It's its own clause with its own subject and its own verb. Very good. It's actually more straightforward than I've made it appear. Made it kind of scary, but it's fairly straightforward, and I'm going to break it down for you. All right. There are three circumstances under which a verb happening in this first clause, always starting off here on the indicative, activates the subjunctive and changes the verb to be in the subjunctive. All right, the first case of that is when the first verb indicates some kind of will or influence. Let's see. Let's come up with an example. Let's say you really want me to sing. All right, you demand that I sing. Why you want me to sing when I have a terrible singing voice, I don't know, but too late now. The verb for demand is exigir. Tu exiges, not exigen. Haha, that was a trick. All right, and for me to sing was going to be yo. And sing is from the verb cantar. Normally it would be canto, right? But canto works for normal present tense. And by normal present tense, I mean the indicative mood over here. We can't do that now because now we're using the present subjunctive tense. We need something that's different. And in fact, It doesn't end with an O or an A, it ends with an E. Cante. Does that ring a bell to you at all? If you're thinking it looks a little bit like the usted command, you're absolutely right. Actually, the conjugations for the present subjunctive all come from the usted command as its basis. All right, so here we have our first sentence in the subjunctive, the first clause, first half. We have tu exiges, you demand that I sing, and sing therefore is now in the subjunctive. But what if we don't want to use a verb that has so much will? What if we want to use one that just has a little bit, like request? You request that I sing. Is that still going to be in subjunctive? Yes. Even if there's a little inkling of will or influence in the verb, it's going to kick the second part into the subjunctive. It activates the subjunctive. All right? Great. Doing great so far. Now let's take a look at our second category, which actually I'm going to write down here. See if there's room. It's doubt, or la duda. Doubt. So let's use the verb to doubt. Dudar, dudas. If any kind of doubt in there, plenty of doubt there. This part's in the second verb goes to subjunctive. If we use an equivalent, like the opposite of believe, don't believe, tu no crees, that has the same function. It goes straight to doubt. Great. All right, we're going to do the third category in a second. The last category, as you may remember, is emotions or feelings. If this verb here reflects any kind of emotion, the person using the verb reflects emotion, then it goes into the subjunctive. We can use, for example, you hope. Not sure why you're hoping that I sing. Tu esperas que yo cante. This hoping is an emotion, automatically activates the subjunctive. Or maybe you regret, sientes, that I sing. Tu sientes que yo cante. Now that makes a lot more sense. All right? So very quick review. The first part of our sentence, the first clause, if the verb indicates any kind of will, influence, doubt, or emotions, it activates the subjunctive, and the second verb in the second clause is kicked into the subjunctive. All right? Now, by the way, the subject doesn't necessarily have to be a person. All right, let's give you 3 quick examples here. Let's say it's like general advice, like it's necessary that I sing. Es necesario que yo cante. All right, that's general advice. The subject is it, even though it doesn't appear in these Spanish sentences. Second, for doubt, we can just use the verb doubtful. Es dudoso que yo cante. And an emotion might be es fantástico. With an accent, que yo cante. All right. Terrific. Now we're almost at the end here, and I want to point out that I want to show you that I've included a vocabulary supplement here, since there are all kinds of ways to express will, doubt, and emotions. This way you can get acquainted with some of the more common vocabulary, the common terms used to kick the second part of the sentence into the subjunctive. On this left side here are the 3 categories: will or influence, doubt, emotions, and there are personal expressions over here for each of the 3. And then on the right side of it are impersonal expressions. On the far right over here are verbs that do not activate the subjunctive. You really need to know the difference, not just throw everything into the subjunctive. Okay, so all parts, the first part and the second part, stay in the indicative. And there we go. Thank you so much.